to Step-by-Step Gun Training, and today we're going to talk about why we loan guns and other equipment to people that come to our events. We loan guns because what we're interested in doing is teaching people how to properly defend their lives, how to properly shoot guns. We're not interested in showing them differences in equipment that's out there. That might be something we do a little bit of, but it's not our main focus. Our main focus is to give you the skills you need to be able to operate these machines effectively for the purposes that you intend. So what we generally do is we generally start off with GLOCKs. Why GLOCKs? Number one, they're the most popular gun in America. In fact, I would consider Glock to be America's pistol because more Americans own Glocks than anything else at this point. The Glock 17 was the first Glock that Gaston Glock invented, and the controls on the Glock 17, the Generation 1, are pretty much identical to the latest Glock he invented, which is the Glock 43. And even the Glock 42, which came out just before the 43, which is a 380, the controls, the trigger, everything is pretty much identical. Other manufacturers in the past, when they come out with a new model, the new model may be a smaller model, easier to conceal. The controls might be completely different. The way the trigger works, the safety mechanisms. Therefore, you have to really understand and a completely different set of circumstances. Those would be the equivalent of if you had one car that was a full-size car that had the gas pedal in the middle and the brake on the right, and then you had a compact car that was in the opposite configuration. It would be a lot to learn, a lot to keep track of. Whereas with the Glock pistols, everything's pretty much identical regardless. And especially with people, male and female, that wear one gun in certain circumstances where maybe they can carry a full-size gun, but in other circumstances, because of where they're going and what they have to do, they have to carry a small gun. It's kind of nice to be able to know that all the controls are basically the same, the gun functions the same, so you're not really having to learn two sets of controls. The guns pretty much work the same. And then with everything but the 43, the ammo is all the same. In fact, until you get into the 43, the magazines are somewhat interchangeable. That is, the 17 magazine will go into the 26. It'll also go into the 19. Now the 26 or the 19 magazine will fit in the hole of the 17, but they won't lock in, they won't feed because they're just too short. And that brings us to another small point, and that is the differences between these guns. Now most of my people who shoot a 26 like to have the little finger extension, which effectively makes it not a whole lot bigger than the 19. As far as concealability goes. But with some of my female students, they will tell me that this little bit of a difference makes a big difference. In reality, the length of the slide and the barrel and the frame, that just goes down inside the pants. It's pretty concealable. It's not a big deal. This is the concealable part of the gun. So between the 19 and the 17, you're going to see a little bit bigger difference. But the 19 is the kind of the Goldilocks gun for most people. They tend to like this. So for a brand new gun, it's a pretty good gun for people to get. But again, if you're one of our students or potentially going to be one of our students, we really recommend you come out and shoot with us first. Learn how to shoot a gun, and then there's always that possibility that a Glock is not the right gun for you. But you know the basic principles of how to run one of these guns before you ever spend all that money. So spending money with us on training first is probably going to save you money if you end up buying a gun that you don't like, which is very likely if you don't get the training, proper training first, and then you learn how to shoot, and then you decide that gun's not right, when you go to trade that gun in that you originally bought, you're probably going to lose a considerable amount of money, and then you're going to buy the gun that you really like. Now Glocks, also, if you did decide to buy a Glock, the nice thing about them is they hold their value fairly well, especially when you consider how inexpensive they are to start with, compared to a lot of other guns that are either extraordinarily expensive, and when you go to sell them, you're going to lose a considerable amount of that value, or they're cheaper than a Glock, but then when you go to sell them, you find out that the value is really diminished considerably on a used version of that gun as opposed to a brand new version of that gun. So a Glock is a great choice. However, we would still encourage you to come learn how to shoot first, and then we'll get you on the right path to picking out the gun that makes the most sense for you. Thank you. Take care. God bless. Bye-bye.